In the 15th century, a vicious battle is happening in the forest. A mighty warrior yells in pain before grabbing a mysterious helmet and putting it on, getting ready to fight again. This is actually a dream that Anne is having at church. All the people attending are women because the men are fighting in the Civil War. After Mass, Anne's mother-in-law Morwen befriends a pregnant woman, touching her belly and hand as she wishes her the best. However, this is just a trick to steal her bracelet. On their way home, Anne wonders if the woman will miss the bracelet. Morwen points out that she has plenty of jewelry, but they have nothing. As they cross the forest, Anne hears a noise and turns around. A knight is riding his horse very slowly in the distance and Anne can't stop staring at him. Morwen calls her out and they keep going. At home, Anne plants some seeds. When Anne notices she's bleeding, she quickly washes it off to hide it. Afterward she cooks dinner, which is just a simple stew because they don't have much food. Morwen's teeth aren't healthy and she has trouble chewing, so Anne chews the food for her and spits it in the bowl so Morwen can eat it. After Morwen falls asleep, Anne eats all the crumbles left in the pot. Then she also goes to sleep and has to share the bed with Morwen. Soon Anne starts dreaming about her childhood. She used to play with two boys in the woods and visit the beach, where she once fell. The next morning Morwen goes to the market to sell the bracelet and the vegetables that Anne has grown. Meanwhile Anne has a dream about her husband Seamus coming home from war. However, he falls on his knees and grabs his head as he screams in pain, begging his wife for help. The dream is interrupted by Morwen waking her up. Then Anne gets very happy when she sees that Morwen has brought some food, but when she cuts the onion she discovers it's rotten. After Morwen throws it on the floor, she says she doesn't mind as long as she has Anne, who starts crying. Morwen asks her to have faith. Sometime later Anne goes to the beach to get water and sees a fisherman singing while taking care of his boat. She comes closer and recognizes him as her childhood friend Iago. Anne wonders if he's back because war is over, but Iago says it's only over for him. When she asks about her husband, Iago's face falls. Later the women feed Iago and ask about Seamus again. Iago describes how terrible war has been, and how they were always surrounded by death, blood, and torture. He was a fisherman, not a soldier, and letting men kill each other wouldn't change anything. One night, Iago and Seamus escaped from their army's camp, determined to go home. Unfortunately they were surrounded by thieves who killed Seamus. Morwen insists she wants to know how it happened, so Iago tells her that they split Seamus neck to navel. Anne has a breakdown so Iago gently touches her knee and offers his sympathies. Afterward Anne goes to the woods to cry alone. She has a vision of her and the boys as kids, so she holds Seamus' hand. Nearby, the mysterious knight is riding again. That night Morwen wonders what will happen to them and leaves the house to deal with her grief alone. Sometime later a boat crashes on the beach and a young man crawls out of the wreckage. As he notices the bodies of his crewmates nearby, Morwen appears behind him and stabs him to death. Then she calls Anne so they can take all the money and any valuables. Anne is horrified by the bodies and starts praying while Morwen pretends that the young man drowned like the others. Later Morwen sells all the loot in the market and the women finally get to have a proper dinner. The next morning while working in the garden, Anne sees the knight staring at her from afar. She rushes inside in fear and keeps an eye on the knight from the window. When Anne tells Morwen that there's a man out there, Morwen says she's imagining things. Later on her way to church, Anne walks past Iago and ignores him. However, he follows her and offers to keep her company. Anne points out that she shouldn't walk with a man who isn't her husband, so Iago reminds her that her husband is dead. After Mass, Iago takes Anne home and tries to have a friendly chat with Morwen, who isn't happy to see him and quickly goes inside with Anne. Iago insults her under his breath. While Anne cooks, Morwen admits she never liked Iago because even as a child he carried a lot of jealousy. She remembers seeing angry eyes in Iago's face whenever he followed Seamus around, and she thinks he has greed now. Anne defends him, saying he was her friend before she got married. However, Morwen tells her to stay with her for safety, and if Anne disobeys her, she'll be dragged to hell. Whenever Anne goes to town, Iago waits by the road and walks with her in secret. In the woods, the knight continues to ride. One afternoon, Anne comes home to discover that Morwen has invited a priest she found on the road. Now Anne has to watch him eat their last food. To thank them for their generosity, the priest shows them some relics he gathered during his pilgrimage. Anne is impressed by how beautiful all the trinkets are and the priest tries to sell them, so Morwen explains they don't have any money. Then Morwen asks him if anyone knows he's back from his travels, and he says no. While he's praying, Morwen surprises him from behind and slits his neck to kill him. Anne immediately freaks out and points out that he was a holy man, but Morwen disagrees and calls him a false pretender. Now they can sell his stuff to have food for the whole winter. The women drag the body out of the house and throw it in the river. Then Anne tries to wash the blood off the floor to no avail. That night, Morwen shares all the rumors about the priest, saying everyone knew he was a philanderer. Anne still thinks they've crossed a line, but Morwen assures her they've done what's needed to survive. The next day Morwen leaves for the market and uncovers the bloodstain with a pelt. At that moment she hears a strange noise, so she goes outside to investigate. As she walks through the woods, she finds an old man who stares back at her. Before he can react, the mysterious knight appears behind him and kills him with his sword. Anne screams in fear and quickly runs away while the knight just watches her. On the road, Anne trips and falls. When Iago finds her, and tries to warn him about the night, but Yago hasn't seen anybody in the area and thinks she's imagining things. He calms her down and realizes that she came looking for him for help, which flatters him, and admits she's scared of ending up in hell if a demon knight touches her, and Yago snorts, saying she shouldn't believe Morwen's stories. The real hell is on the battlefield where thousands of men are spilling blood. Yago confesses his desire for Anne and tells her to meet him tonight at the spot where they used to play as kids. On her way home, Anne finds Morwen wearing expensive clothes while eating and drinking like a queen. At that moment she wakes up and confirms they're both in bed as usual. After making sure that Morwen is asleep, Anne sneaks out of the house. As she walks down the road, she keeps hearing a horse neighing. Eventually she finds Yago and says she shouldn't be there, but she kisses him anyway. They end up getting naughty on the ground. In the morning, Yago asks Anne to come live with him, however, and turns him down, not wanting to abandon Morwen. Yago thinks Morwen will drain her life. Afterward Anne goes home and sneaks back in bed, but Morwen sees her and asks where she's been. Anne claims she went out for some fresh air. Morwen starts manipulating her by saying she'd die without her because Anne's her guardian angel sent to care for her in her son's absence. She doesn't want to be alone and promises to take care of Anne in return. A few nights later, a traveler is walking down the road with his cart and stops when he finds Anne blocking the way. He asks what she wants and Morwen uses the distraction to attack him from behind, killing him. Then Morwen makes Anne check the guy's pockets while she takes anything useful from the cart. Anne finds a little wooden horse that reminds her of the knight. In the woods, the knight is cleaning his sword while having visions of vicious battles. Later in church, Anne keeps looking at the new mother with her baby. Since the baby is making too much noise, the mother has to take the child outside. After Mass, Anne gives the wooden horse to the baby. In the afternoon, Yago comes to see Anne, but Morwen goes outside to receive him. Yago admits he's only here for Anne and tries to enter the house, however Morwen keeps blocking him. He then points out that Anne deserves a second chance at having a marriage and kids, but Morwen says those things only brought her grief, so she wants to protect Anne from them. When Yago tries to move again, Morwen threatens him with a knife. Yago yells to tell Anne that he'll wait for her, then he leaves. Morwen goes back inside and finds Anne crying, so she comforts her while reminding her of God's law. Later Anne goes to church and tells Virgin Mary that her heart is torn. She thinks it's unfair that she's left starving for things she can't have. At home, Anne prepares a special tea that makes Morwen sleep very deeply. Then she replaces her conservative hairstyle with something prettier before sneaking out. Anne meets with Yago on the back, and after he shares some stories, they chase each other around like when they were kids. After playing, they get naughty again. At home, Morwen wakes up and discovers that she's alone. She goes outside to look for Anne and hears a horse approaching, so she rushes to hide as she pulls out her knife. Soon the mysterious knight arrives and Morwen notices his coin pouch, which has a flower decoration. The knight touches the door, but he doesn't dare to open it and leaves. Morwen decides to follow the knight and finds him falling on his knees. She's also shocked to see that nearby, Anne and Yago are getting naughty. Then the knight tries to walk away, but he falls again and groans in pain. Morwen takes the chance to stab him from behind, but it's not enough to kill him, so the knight starts crawling away as he struggles to breathe. After the knight rolls down a small hill, he lands on a stream. Morwen quickly rushes to his side and chokes him until he's finally dead. Then she happily takes the coin pouch, only to be distracted by some creepy whispers coming from the knight's helmet. Morwen decides to take it off. The next morning, Anne admits to Yago that she feels guilty about her sinful thoughts. She's envious of the church mother because she also wants a baby and a beautiful necklace, calling it a terrifying greed. When Yago says he can give her that if she comes to live with him, she calls him a greedy man and they get naughty again. A few hours later, Anne arrives home and tries to tell Morwen that she'll live with Yago. At first Morwen ignores her, but when Anne explains herself and points out that Seamus is gone, Morwen grabs her hand and asks her not to say his name. She starts insulting her, telling her she'll burn like a sinner and that when the knights of hell come for her, she'll cheer them on. A terrified Anne runs away and soon makes it to Yago's house. She hugs him as she announces that she won't let Morwen control her anymore. In the middle of the night, Anne wakes up when she hears a noise and is horrified to find the knight in front of her. When he attacks her with his sword, she wakes up for real. Afterward Anne convinces Yago to come to church with her. During the sermon, Yago doesn't pay any attention and keeps yawning. Anne stays in church after Mass to pray and thinks about the day that young Seamus punched young Yago while they were playing on the beach. Yago tells her they should go home, but Anne wants to pray a little longer for Seamus and Morwen. A frustrated Yago reminds her that Seamus died after some soldiers hit him and Anne immediately calls him out, since last time he said Seamus was killed by thieves. Yago thinks that the person who did it is irrelevant. The point is that some men attacked their camp and killed Seamus. When Anne demands the truth, Yago says he's loved her since they were kids and wants them to leave Seamus and his mother behind. Anne is tired of his excuses and threatens to never speak to Yago again if he doesn't confess. Yago then reveals that Seamus changed during the war. His ambition grew to the point that he killed random men to take their money. A flashback shows that Seamus took the flower pouch from a dead body. One night after Yago and Seamus escaped the army, they were approached by the mysterious knight. Seamus immediately jumped on the man to fight him, and after exchanging a few blows, Seamus managed to stab him the same way his mother did. However, this wasn't enough, so he stabbed him again multiple times before taking his helmet. Seamus put it on, feeling stronger than ever. After a few seconds, he grabbed his head and yelled in pain. He tried to take the helmet off, but it wouldn't come off, so Iago left him behind. Meanwhile, Morwen has taken the helmet home, but she keeps thinking about what she saw. It turns out that the person under the helmet was Seamus, who started wearing the knight's armor after defeating him and had a completely burned face. This means she killed her beloved son. She let out a noise mixed with laughter and sobbing as she repeated, "You came back to me." At church, Iago finishes his story saying that he didn't have a choice. And thinks Morwen was right, he truly is just a jealous boy. She then leaves the church, ignoring his pleas. Outside, she finds the priest on the ground. A closer look reveals his neck was cut with a knife. At that moment she hears a noise and looks up to find the knight. Terrified and immediately runs away and goes home, only to find the house empty. Soon the knight comes looking for her and tries to run again, but she freezes when she hears her name. The knight begs her to take the helmet off, and the voice makes her realize this is Morwen. And wonders if her mother-in-law is trying to scare her back into submission, but Morwen only asks her for pity because it hurts very badly. Then Anne tries to take the helmet off and keeps seeing images of Morwen burning. No matter how much she pulls, the helmet won't come off and only makes the pain worse. Next, Anne grabs a cross from the house and hits Morwen's head with it. The helmet breaks in two and reveals Morwen's face covered in burn marks. Morwen apologizes and begs for forgiveness, so Anne helps her up. On the ground, the two halves of the helmet come together again, and the women see the dark souls of all the people it killed coming out of it. The duo rushes to hide inside the house, and Anne blocks the door with some furniture. Soon someone starts pounding on the door. Anne waits until it's over to open it and finds the helmet on the ground. She can hear the whispers coming from it and picks it up while Morwen tells her not to touch it because it's cursed. Anne assures her there's nothing to fear because the helmet has no power over her, and Morwen notices a halo around her head before she goes blind. In the morning, Iago finds Anne on the beach and says he wants her. Anne replies that she doesn't belong to anyone, so Iago points out that she's always talking about demons, but he isn't the one hurting her. An offended Anne runs away and Iago screams insults at her. Afterward, Anne goes home and makes tea for Morwen, but it's clear she's now in control of the household. Later, Anne goes to the woods and opens a chest containing the helmet, which she picks up to listen to the whispers. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.